Hello, and welcome to the About Healing podcast, a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys, and who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I am your host, About Healing medium and certified spiritual healer, Sheree Buckman. It is my purpose to guide others to the path of self-healing and to inspire those on their spiritual journeys in finding their truths. Join me as I share my experience and unfiltered perspective in healing, as well as the incredible wisdom of the loving energy that guides us. Let's begin. Well, hello, beautiful and bright souls. Welcome back to About Healing podcast. I am so excited to spend this time with you and explaining this beautiful topic for today. So before we begin, I love to pull a card today from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle card deck by Jill Pyle. The card today is Look to the Stars. As above, so below. The ancient aphorism represents how our human experience reflects the movements of the stars in the universe. Just as our ancestors did, we can look to the heavens for insight into our shared experiences as people on this planet. Astrology is a powerful tool for recognizing patterns impacting the collective consciousness, which we can often see play out among our friends, families, lovers, community, and our own life. Deepen your understanding of yourself and the astrological patterns through self-study or by working with a professional astrologer. As you tune in to the different astrological seasons, you can gain great insight into what energies are working in your favor. The practice will allow you to flow with the energies instead of feeling like you are swimming in opposition to the currents of life. The journal prompt this week is, how can you best work with the current astrological season? If you're unsure what it is, take a moment to look it up and read what it's all about.
Have you been enjoying our weekly card readings? Well, then we have a special deal for you. We've partnered with goddessprovisions.com as an affiliate to offer you a discount on all their fabulous products. Receive 10% off your minimum purchase of $25, which can also be applied to your first subscription box. Use code ABOUTHEALING to apply your discount and support the About Healing podcast.
Okay, so let's dive into our topic. Throughout this, of course, the beginning of the season, as this whole big season is about whole self wellness. And as I had mentioned in an earlier episode, it has 4 parts. Again, we have the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Today, we're going to discuss our spiritual wellness. Let's begin by understanding what that means. So our spiritual wellness has to do with our beliefs, our values, and the search for meaning in our lives. You know, it's interesting as obviously I know what spiritual wellness is, but I was also doing a bunch of research and also seeing what the different perspectives are when looking at this up, making sure that I'm not missing a piece. Because again, when I am in this work, or many of us believe that we know certain meanings, usually we're taking our own biases, our own perspective. So I wanted to open that up and just make sure I'm hitting every avenue I can in this. And so what I had just described to you as well, which was my base knowledge and understanding of what spiritual wellness is, that I got actually from mass.gov. That's right, from massachusetts.gov website. So I found it very interesting that I was able to find that beautiful, very well just crunched up definition, on a government website of all places. So I also felt that was good news because our spiritual wellness, that means it's expanding into other, I guess, avenues and categories of life, that it's now making it into like government. And this is, I guess, normalizing, even though I hate that word, but mainstreaming. Haha, I found a better word. That it's becoming more common where we can put it in places like this and there's a larger understanding. That's amazing. To me, this is showing evolution. Anyway, also somewhat digressing. So let me bring myself back because we do have a lot to talk about. Our spiritual wellness is really also it's about our totality as a person. It's about understanding that. Our conscious awareness about the meaning of life, our purpose, morals, and values, as well as our transcendent beliefs. Now, our spiritual wellness is not necessarily about religion or conforming to any belief system, although it does fall into this category. But it's more about connecting with your deeper truths. And I want to put emphasis right here on your deeper truths about your beliefs and finding comfort and peace in it. So, before I really break it all down to you into the lessons of understanding, again, the spiritual wellness and what it looks like and how to get there and all those amazing pieces, let's also talk about the importance and benefits of actually improving our spiritual health. As I explained again in earlier episodes, is that our whole self wellness is all linked. So when one is out of balance, it affects the others. And so when we are improving it and when we have a good balance, what it does is it actually reduces our stress and our anxiety, anger, and depression. These are actually big pieces that are proven. Other pieces that, while I already knew this, doing that further research, I'm finding it also on that mass.gov, that government website. It was listed there also. But I also found it on so many other websites, including medical platforms as well. So, isn't that interesting that we're starting to see that? And I love it. So, also improving our spiritual health also enhances our spiritual awareness, our self awareness, and purpose. It also improves emotional and mental states. It brings us to a place where we are better able to cope with trauma and hardships, which is wow. It enriches quality of life and a greater physical health, as well as connections with culture and community.
FindMagicPeople.com is a growing expert led community of psychics, healers, and teachers. It's our conversation and a place to connect and discover. Create your free account at FindMagicPeople.com today and start sharing your voice.
So let's tap into this a little bit more. So, to understand spiritual wellness as a whole and to really grasp that understanding, let's break it down into four parts. Because again, that research and my understanding, as well as this this intuition, knowledge, and wisdom of access that I uniquely have, as well as the online research that I have access to too. I've combined it all because what I have found is that there are four main pieces here. And so I have really broken these down for you today. So the first part in spiritual wellness is self, yourself, ourselves. It's about creating balance and peace within. So a part of that is it's that self-acceptance, right? It's finding that self-acceptance. It's accepting all perceived aspects of ourselves, the positive and the negative. And that is about offering ourselves forgiveness, compassion, and turning down that inner critic. Essentially, it's what I end every episode in. And as that reminder here, it's being kind to yourself and coming into that realization, into that acceptance that you are human. Being human and being a whole person and coming into that acceptance is about also recognizing that we are perfectly imperfect. True perfection does not exist. It does not exist. We are fallible. And that's about the balance of this life is that there's duality. And each of us have this duality. We all have our faults and we have these difficulties and we have these personality flaws, as they would say. I know I do. I have lots of them. I used to apologize in every episode, beginning of what season 1, I was saying that a lot. But again, it's coming into that awareness and that self-acceptance, let's put it that way, which actually leads us into the next part of that self, which is the self-awareness. So, self-awareness actually has 3 parts on its own, and that is having the ability to perceive and understand your own beliefs, values, emotions, truths, and individuality. The second is your ability to focus on yourself and how your actions, thoughts, or emotions do or don't align with your internal standards. And the third is being accountable in your thoughts, your words, emotions, and actions. Self awareness is a biggie because that is about being totally and brutally honest about your whole self. It is, again, it's that recognition of like, that we're not perfect and that we need to be accountable for what we project on to our people, into the energy of our lives, and taking that accountability that things that are going on, whether positive or negative, is a creation and manifestation of how we or what we are creating in our mind. It's our thoughts, again, those words, all of that. So the other piece within that first description, right? We're still in the first part of our spiritual wellness breakdown here. And again, so the third piece under the self is purpose. So we've talked about the self acceptance, the self awareness, and now we're on the purpose. Which, when I'm talking about purpose, it is actually about finding and searching. It's not necessarily about finding your purpose, but it's the journey. It's about asking the bigger questions and then therefore searching. Because you may never, for some people, you may not actually find the big purpose of what you think your life, what it is. Sometimes it is about this incredible journey of understanding what it could be or what it's like for other people. And that's okay too. Maybe that is your purpose. And I think that's a big piece too. And I'm just putting this out here, and that's part of another episode. I may have already said it before, but I'm bringing it up here again. That sometimes we overthink our purpose. We feel like our purpose has to be this big job or this big piece where we're supposed to bring world peace or change the world in this big way. But in reality, you are already doing it. Usually it's just being your true and authentic self and loving and caring for those around you. Just being you. That's usually aligned with the purpose. And so that journey of that discovery of purpose is usually coming back and to say, like, oh, I am already there. I'm already living it. And that's amazing too. And within that purpose of finding and doing that, it's finding the acceptance of it. So let's say you do find it, right? And if discovered, or whether you've known all along, it's about accepting it. And while for some that doesn't sound like a big deal, but for others who are like me, who had to go through this big moment, it's a big task. It was a very difficult task for me to accept my purpose. I think that I have actually different purposes within my life. I absolutely believe that because I have a massive purpose in being a good friend and for being a mother and a spouse. These are actually really big for me. But there's this other piece that has to do with this purposeful work. Honestly, and then to accept something that I felt so deeply to be the truest part of myself that would likely be misunderstood by some or many. That was the hard part because maybe I didn't fully understand it or what the meaning was behind what I was accepting or where I was going on this journey. It was difficult. And you know what? It can be difficult for you too. It can be a difficult journey. One where many spend their lives trying to find the courage to do, right? Standing outside the comfort zone because there is a huge defining moment where it was that for me. But for some reason, there was just this fire or volcano going off that told me that I had to put myself out there. And I did it. Social media. Here we go. We live in a technology age. I don't know what it was, but I did this post on my own personal Facebook page. It included family, friends, everyone I knew. So hundreds of people, including, some that I was really afraid of what their judgments would be, to really talk about this and give my story there. But the thing is that I wrote this beautiful post and I really took my time. It was everything that I was feeling. But I put faith in it, whether people didn't or did accept it. It was exactly what I needed to be. And it was the biggest release and it was the biggest breath that I was ever got to take, just putting it out there. No matter what came back at me or what the reactions were going to be. Felt free. It was, again, like a ton of bricks lifted off of me just by accepting that this purpose of mine and putting it out there. Now, not to say that you are going along that journey too, but for those of you who are afraid of standing outside the box and getting outside that comfort zone, of doing something that might be a little different or perceived different from, maybe the values of your family or your friends that surround you. You have to come to that in your own time and in your own way. But I think you might be surprised at the freedom that comes with it, right? So, to move on from there, from within this purpose about searching and finding and accepting, well, once it's, again, you accept it, it's also about embodying it. And while probably that last piece that I just spoke about was probably my example anyway, my personal example about putting myself out there is about the embodiment, right? Because now it's about integrating your purpose within your life. And that's through your thoughts, your emotions, words, and actions. So I kind of got ahead of myself for a moment because that example that I gave you, it was a really long process just for me and my thought process of actually accepting, I guess, these different parts of myself to do this type of work. And then the next step was, okay, I finally accepted it. Now I had to speak about it. And that's the embodiment. It's living with your purpose now and not apologizing for it anymore because you're free and you're living your truth. And that's amazing. So, anyway, I can keep going on and on about truths in this piece, but there's so much more to cover. We were still just in the first part of the spiritual wellness. So, let's move into the second part of our spiritual wellness. So, we just covered the self, and the second part is others. So, when I'm talking about the others, so this is broken down into like the compassion, right? It's having compassion for others. It's being that empathetic understanding, not pity, everybody, not pity, but the empathetic understanding and the desire of wanting to help, support, or improve another circumstance. The one thing here is that compassion can't be faked. You know when someone's doing it for alternative motives or trying to fake it or just doing it, whatever, because of. But this compassion is most often developed through one's own trauma and life's difficulties because it is about understanding what it feels like for the other person, to be in the other person's shoes, of understanding, again, what it's like to be going through something like this other person. The other part of this, of putting others as our second part in our spiritual wellness, is community. It's about connecting with others in the involvement. It's also about community service and having cultural awareness. And within that, it's about accepting others. That acceptance of others is really important here in our spiritual wellness because this is also a battle within the ego and the judgments and bringing these walls down. It is an understanding of our different journeys, that we're all on different journeys, that no two truths or beliefs are exactly the same. In fact, they can be complete and polar opposites. But it's having respect of boundaries and of differences and having an open mind. That's what brings up part of a spiritual wellness and balance. The third part of bringing that balance is nature. So, because I have a lot of lists going, I'm just reminding you between the four parts of the spiritual wellness, you have the self, others, and now we're in nature. Connecting with nature, okay? Connecting with nature is really important in connecting and understanding ourselves in the bigger picture because it's also about having respect for all living things, including animals and plants and trees. But it's also about that awareness within the environment. It's also about doing your part, leaving this planet better than when you came. That's the same kind of attitude or goal we want to put out when we go to anybody's house as a guest. Always leave things better than when you came. And we do this within our environment, by recycling or gardening, whether you're an animal rescue wing and volunteering or an activist or being mindful of just your carbon footprint. And there's so much more. These are just examples of that. But that connection to nature, it can be very powerful and healing, honestly, within its own right, because we are connected by that same energy, that vibration. It's just like with the trees. When our trees and our plants produce oxygen and take carbon, and we do it in reverse, where we're needing each other. It's that energy that we give each other to thrive. And nature is a part of it for us. And being on the food chain of life, it is also part of our responsibility to be mindful and making sure that we are showing tenderness and kindness to other animals and living and existing creatures. And now it brings me to the fourth part, which is transcendence. This is about going beyond ordinary limitations and boundaries, about moving beyond physical needs and realities. So, this transcendence piece is important within our whole self wellness because this is about coming to terms about our own very, very personal and very unique beliefs and truths about the bigger picture, the bigger perspective, about what's beyond. It's about pondering the meaning of life. It's about discovering your beliefs. In order to do so, you must begin by confronting your false beliefs to make space for your truths. And so, of course, I have about 100 things to say about this topic, which I've already covered in 2 separate episodes. So I'm going to go ahead and reference that here for you. So if you really want more information on this, I'm going to recommend season 2, episode 7, which is confronting your false beliefs. And the other episode is season 2 episode 8, so it follows the first one. And this is in finding your truths. But this transcendence piece is not just about finding the answers through fact or of scientific proof, because you're not going to find it. That's not what transcendence is about. It's an extremely personal, emotional journey of inner knowing. It's finding faith in your discovery. So, I also want to put a little side note here because there's one thing about transcendence when we talk about this subject or when we bring up really kind of like religion in that aspect. I have found in my experience that this can be a very triggering or heavy component for some to understand and navigate through. And that has to do with their own personal background or whether it be family or whatever it may be. And I have developed within my Awakening into Your Power workshop, right? I actually discuss a lot of this. This is what that whole workshop is about. It's about guiding people through the process of finding their own truths and journeys. And so there it is. You have the 4 main parts of the spiritual wellness. It's about putting focus on yourself and putting focus on others, nature, and transcendence. So if you're kind of wondering where you are in that and if you would find yourself spiritually healthy, well, let me give you this. What does it mean to be spiritual healthy or what would it look like? Well, it's about having a strong sense of self. It's being in that self awareness and that self acceptance, being compassionate, offering forgiveness and understanding easily. It's being aligned with your inner truths and your beliefs and understanding the unity of life and the energy of all things, thoughts, people, nature, etc. It's acknowledging the differences between people without feeling fear or judgment. So if you feel like maybe you're not as balanced here or there could be room for improvement, please know not a lot of people are. And some are very well adjusted here, and that's amazing. But for some of you who may be just starting your journey and understanding what your true beliefs are and understanding yourself more authentically, or maybe just understanding the world or the universe and questioning all those big unknowns, it's okay. It's a journey, and honestly, it's a beautiful journey to finding that out. So, here are a few other pieces to help you in improving your spiritual health if you're on that journey or choose to. It's about taking time to connect with your inner truths, your knowings and beliefs. Journaling. I know some people don't like to hear that, but it's one of my favorite things to offer is guidance. A lot of my clients get that too. I give this as part of the healing guidance with specific prompts, but journaling is great. It's a place to put your thoughts and understand yourself deeper, where you can be honest. Let's see, you could speaking to someone or others you trust about your beliefs. You know, when you're able to have those beautiful conversations, or someone who's able to challenge you and offer you different perspectives. Again, it's practicing the respect and the open-mindedness about the differences we can all have. Practicing yoga is great too. Ah, man, opening up yourself in movement and Again, it really is about that self-awareness and inner strength. It is a fantastic practice. Meditation and prayer are great too. And if this doesn't a lot of the information in this episode is you'll find it very familiar, or you might find it very familiar because it's very connected with your crown chakra. So working on your crown chakra is great. So I'm also going to reference here, going back, I have a whole episode and a bonus crown chakra meditation that is excellent here in helping you with your spiritual health. And that would be season 3, episode 18. And right after that, there should be a bonus meditation for crown chakra. So a couple other ones real quick is spending time in nature, volunteering, practicing mindfulness, tapping into your creative side. And these are just to name a few. But as always, this is a personal journey of self-discovery. Your spiritual wellness is important. This is important in balancing your whole self. Whether you've just put so much energy maybe in your physical self or your mental health, just know that by tapping into these deeper questions and these really deep-rooted truths within yourself that maybe you've never even asked, you may discover your truest balance and inner peace. So, until next time, you beautiful souls, be kind to yourself. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at abouthealingmedium.com. You can also follow About Healing Medium on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find the episode's healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask a question or to share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to reach me on Facebook and Instagram at About Healing Medium. Until next time, be kind to yourself.